Welcome back to A View from the Chair. I am your host, Patrice Jordan Robinson, Chair of the Memphis City Council and the City Council District 3 representative. My goal with this program is to allow all citizens access to the latest information from your city leaders. So I've invited today Jennifer Oswalt, President and CEO of the Downtown Memphis Commission, and Reid Dulberger, President and CEO of Edge, as our host on A View from the Chair. On today, we're going to talk about the city's challenges, opportunities moving forward in COVID-19 pandemic climate. So first, I'd like to welcome my guests, Jennifer and Reid. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Chairwoman.
How are you today?
Good.
Good. Thank you.
Have you all been out in the rain?
I have not.
Why haven't you gotten in the fresh breeze? Oh my God, you got to get some fresh air. It is really nice out. So the audience will have a better understanding of who you are and what you do. Jennifer, will you share with our listening audience and viewers today just a little background about yourself and where you are now and what your role is?
Yes. So I'm at the Downtown Memphis Commission. I've been there 5 years this August. And actually, I started as the CFO of the organization and became president almost 3 years ago. So it's been a great time to be in downtown Memphis. We've had a lot of growth and energy, and it's been very good up until some of the challenges 2020 has brought us, which we hope to work through. But our organization is primarily charged with bringing more people to downtown Memphis to not only live, work, but visit, and not only visit from outside Memphis, but we want people who live further east to come to downtown as well, because it is everyone's downtown. And also to increase property values. So that ultimately leads to more tax income for the city. And it is our most efficient neighborhood to allow for growth to increase that tax base without having to extend more services outside, because the infrastructure is already built. So those are our main goals. We do take care of downtown, and we do encourage development, but all with those two goals in mind. Thanks.
So tell us how the commission, when did we have a commission, and what are they commissioned to do? We want Memphians to understand your work.
Okay. So we were actually created in 1977 after the events that led to the assassination of Dr. King and the downfall that the city incurred after that. The organization was established to try to bring more business and vitality into the city, the downtown area. We are a business improvement district, which means we charge an assessment on commercial property only. So our services benefit everyone who lives, works, plays in downtown, but we only charge an assessment to the commercial property owners. So that means office buildings, retail stores, and apartment complexes. We'll charge the apartment owner, not the apartment tenant. But if you own a house in downtown, our assessment does not apply to your tax bill. And so it's really downtown business owners taxing themselves or assessing themselves, it's not a tax, to have additional services and improvements into downtown, because it is such a public space. A lot of the property is not owned by individual property owners, but more the city, and we need to take care of that space for the betterment of everyone.
So let's try to make an analogy so that our citizens can understand it. So is it like a homeowners association where you have some property that everybody makes sure that they keep up with their dollars? Is that what you do?
That's right. That's a great analogy. That is exactly what it's like. And not only with the improvements to the space itself and the land, but also the Blue Suede Brigade, which is out patrolling. They're hospitality and safety officers in one person, which is great. They're out there, and we do flowers and things that make it beautiful. So all those services as well that benefit everyone.
So who commissioned this organization?
It is a joint city-county organization. So our board members are appointed jointly by the city and county, half and half. And it was, established in that way and has continued for its entirety.
Okay, thank you. So, Reid, you got, the lineup of questions. Go for it.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Pleasure to be here. Really appreciate this opportunity today. So I am honored to serve as the President and CEO of EDGE. I also concurrently serve as the Chief Economic Development Officer for the City of Memphis and Chief Economic Development Officer for Shelby County. I've been doing local economic development for more years than I will publicly admit, but I will tell you that I worked in New York State, upstate New York for a while, and in Northeast Ohio before coming to Memphis. And when I came to Memphis in 2008, I had the privilege of working at the Chamber for a while. And then in 2011, Memphis City Council and Shelby County Commission created EDGE, jointly created EDGE, and did so in order to have we call an umbrella economic development organization. So the city and county had in prior years created several different organizations, I think all probably doing a really good job, but disconnected from each other. And I think over a period of time, council and commission and the respective mayors found that was a little bit of an unwieldy situation. So you all created EDGE to be the umbrella to bring together a number of these entities that all focused on industrial projects, manufacturing and distribution, and also commercial projects out east, for example, at the Poplar and 240 corridor. I joined EDGE in January of 2012. I was the first staff member that they hired, and we've built the organization since. And we really do three primary things. We're most known for our economic development work. So much like Jennifer and her organization does downtown, we do throughout the city, sometimes working in collaboration with the Downtown Memphis Commission on projects here in the core, but projects throughout the city. We also manage the Memphis and Shelby County Port Commission. So we run the International Port of Memphis, the 5th largest inland port in the nation, which means we manage and run properties at the President's Island Industrial Park and at the Frank C. Pigeon Industrial Park. And we work with the Army Corps of Engineers to maintain the McKellar Lake Slackwater Harbor. And then thirdly, we have a nonprofit workforce development group called the Greater Memphis Alliance for a Competitive Workforce. And they work as an intermediary trying to work with our training and educational institutions on the one hand and our employers on the other to fill the skills gap that exists here in our community. But again, best known for our work in economic development, using financial resources, many of which the Council and Commission have made available to us, like tax abatements or tax increment financing, to spur development throughout our community.
Okay. This has nothing to do with any of the questions that I'm supposed to ask today. Did you get to work with my uncle, Clifford Stockton?
I absolutely did. I did not know he was your uncle, Cliff.
Yes.
Those who knew Cliff at the Chamber revered him, and I was one of them.
Thank you. Thank you. We miss him. My aunt really misses him. So I want to ask you, both of you, and I'm going to go back to Jennifer. COVID-19, the pandemic, has presented so many challenges, not just to the city, but also to the Downtown Commission and the businesses there as well. So can you talk to us a little bit about what those challenges look like and what the people that you work with have had to say and how we could better support them during this time?
Yes. So first, we reached out to all of our projects that were in progress to make sure that we understood what they might need in additional assistance, whether that be connections to various people if they were having a problem on the lending side or construction side, wherever they were, we wanted to check in with them. We offered an extension on people who have loans with us, a deferral for 3 months on the payments. We also did a 3-month extension on any pilot project, so a tax abatement project where they would get 3 extra months before they had to start the project. But we really focused most of our effort on the small businesses the core of our downtown, the Main Street, let's say, businesses. And we really helped them with communication. So first saying who was open and closed, and then who might have takeout or not. We worked with the city to close a few of the metered parking spaces so that they could have the drive-up customers, because a lot of the downtown businesses don't have that drive-up space, especially if you're on, let's say, the pedestrian mall. So we worked with them on that. And then we did institute a forgivable loan program, which is essentially a grant if you stay in business 2 years. You make some payments, which we deferred until probably early next year. We'll start that now because COVID has continued to impact these businesses. But then if they are in business a year from now, half of the loan is forgiven. And then if they make it 2 years, which we certainly hope, then it's 100% forgiven. And we did that because we wanted to stay in touch with them. We didn't want to just give money and they were on their way. We wanted to continue to help them, and we connected them with resources, including StartCo, which extended their program that they normally give startup companies and entrepreneurs. And they focused across the country, and they actually focused on our Memphis businesses to help them through this crisis and hopefully to be stronger on the other side should a second round come through or some different challenge. And we were able to award $260,000 to 46 businesses, and to 63% of those were women or minority owned businesses. So we were really pleased with our ability to get that money out quickly. Most of them received it before they could even apply for the federal grant program. And that was our intent, was to really help, in that time period where everything was up in the air and they just weren't sure what they were going to get from the federal government. And really to be that lifeboat to the other side of that. And we, so far, everyone's still in business. So we're continuing to try to help.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that with us. So what's going on your side, Mr. Dulberger?
Actually, it tracks very closely, as one might imagine. So the first thing we did when the pandemic really became obvious was to reach out to our existing portfolio and just see how they were doing and what they needed. And not surprisingly, what a lot of them needed was a connection to someone who could provide sanitizer, protective gear, or those kinds of things. And so we did a lot of that kind of work early on. We created a resource section on our website where which we maintain to this day. We've had over 1,000 entities go to that site looking for information. How do I access this? Where do I find that? As part of that is different local entities like Downtown Memphis Commission or the Memphis Medical District Collaborative or Epicenter created financial programs. We created a sort of a one-stop location where you could get information on all the local as well as federal programs, and now hopefully state program to help small businesses. And then again, like DMC, we created a program to help local companies. Now, with a citywide footprint, we had to be selective. We just simply don't have the resource to help everyone. And as you, Chairwoman, there is enormous need out there.
Yes.
What we chose to do is to focus on a community that we have come to serve over the last few years, which are small businesses in distressed inner city census tracts, distressed inner city neighborhoods. Several years ago, we created what we call the ICED program, Inner City Economic Development, which funds renovation projects and construction projects for small firms and locally owned firms in distressed inner city neighborhoods. So we returned to that population. We created what we refer to as the NEED grant, Neighborhood Emergency Economic Development Grant Program, for these small locally owned businesses in distressed neighborhoods. And as you would imagine, as you would know, as your audience will know, there are just an incredible amount of stories out there, great companies that are just struggling with things that no one could ever have anticipated, whether it's the restaurants that were forced to close or the printing shops that found that all of a sudden the orders that they were working on didn't have a customer any longer because that customer was closed. It's this amazing array of companies. We've done to date 78 of these. They're grants. We have 11 more teed up for this Friday. We've distributed about $477,000. We continue to go. We know that there is an almost unlimited demand for assistance out in the community. And as you would expect, as we would have expected, a lot of these are companies like hairdressers and barbershops. There are a lot of restaurants. Surprisingly, to us at least, we wound up doing a large number of companies in what we call the creative economy: TV, video, music. And it had just never occurred to us that, of course, in Memphis, a lot of those companies are located in our inner city neighborhoods, and they're drawing on that talent, they're drawing on that inspiration. But truthfully, it just had not occurred to us. Our projects have spanned 18 zip codes in the city so far, but we've had a lot of clustering. So, for example, the Whitehaven neighborhood is one that we have done 16 projects in. And that's in part because we've done a lot of work in Whitehaven before, so we know a lot of people. It's also because, quite frankly, we have a really strong relationship with the Greater Whitehaven Economic Redevelopment Corporation and Trey McKnight. And so, unfortunately, we don't have enough people to have feet on the street in all the neighborhoods. So we are, to some extent, dependent upon our partners to help us. And we have a strong partner in Whitehaven. We have strong partners, certainly the Downtown Memphis Commission and others, who are really helping make this program a success. And Jennifer touched on a point that I think bears emphasis. So she mentioned working with StartCo. We work with the Tennessee Small Business Development Center at Southwest Tennessee Community College, Rory Thomas and his crew, as well as others, to provide technical support for these companies, because many of them need new business models or modified business models. The world is not going to be what it was for some period of time. And so it's great to have these technical resources, these smart people in our community who can help our small businesses think through how to modify what they're doing to be successful going forward. And we strongly encourage that.
Okay, that's awesome. So Reid, EDGE has a unique responsibility in that it works with some of our larger corporate offices and businesses. Have you heard about any companies that may be cutting back because of the pandemic?
Not because of the pandemic. I mean, the normal cycle of business, we see some companies growing and some companies cutting back. So of our clientele so far, knock on wood, we have not. Now, we've heard of companies like Hilton, I should say, that just announced worldwide that they're cutting back on their office side. We have a large Hilton presence here in Memphis. They aren't clients of ours, but nonetheless, in a very important company here. We expect that at least some of those jobs will probably be here in Memphis, though we don't have numbers yet. I do think as this situation continues and as the downturn in the economy is something that we deal with over the balance of 2020 and potentially the balance of 2021, we are likely to see cutbacks in our companies. I think at the moment, people are trying to get a better handle on exactly what to expect going forward, how deep, how long, and what they need to do to respond. So as of yet, we haven't seen significant cutbacks from any of our clients, but I wouldn't be surprised if we do in the months ahead.
Okay. Jennifer, have you heard of any cutbacks in the downtown area?
There was one announcement. It was Odin Marketing, who's actually closing. They had, they said, a large customer who decided not to continue the marketing work. That often is the first thing to get cut. And so it significantly impacted them, and they did decide to close. So that was very unfortunate. They had just actually planted roots in downtown, buying a building and renovating. So at least the building, got into better shape for its next owner, but we are very sad to hear that about them. Other than that, certainly a lot of caution, but no other bigger items of note so far.
Well, that's good. I believe in Memphians. I believe in our businesses, and I believe that we're all going to work together so that our new normal might not be the old normal, but we're going to work through this together. So, Jennifer, how is the forgivable loan program working with smaller retail businesses in the downtown core? I know you said that they don't have to pay them back till later, but have they been received well? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, they have all received their funding, and I believe it did fill a very needed gap for them. They're all still working in their different individual situations. A lot of them were restaurants, but we also had some salons and some other service businesses. But the restaurants in downtown are particularly harmed because they don't have the daytime population, with a lot of our larger companies not coming back into the office yet, or at least only maybe 10 to 20% back in the office. That population that used to go out to eat at the restaurants is not there. We're only reliant on our residential base, which was growing, but a lot of it's still in construction. And so those people aren't living there. And it's definitely hard to get Memphians in other parts of the city who aren't quite comfortable yet going out to eat to come all the way downtown if that's a long way for them. So our downtown restaurants are challenged, and some of them have not reopened yet, but have plans to.
Okay, thank you. So Reid, Edge has been a very important partner in our downtown development. How is the Union Road project progressing?
Well, actually, I think we're always proud to partner with the Downtown Memphis Commission, but that's really a question, if you don't mind, Chairwoman. I'm going to let me give that to Jennifer.
Okay, Jennifer.
Sure. So they have cleared the site. So this is a site that sits between 4th Street and Danny Thomas. So basically right in between the FedEx Forum and the AutoZone Park, Union Avenue, which a lot of people take out to Sun Studios. You see tourists walking, and there's not very much along that path. There were a lot of vacant buildings and open lots, and that has now been cleared for the site. They are still working through their final tweaks. Unfortunately, COVID did cause some redesign with the hotels that were planned and some of the retail. So that's delaying them a little bit. I would say, probably 90 days of a delay just to work through all those changes, as well as what they're seeing on the financial side, which can be very fluid right now. So I think they're hearing different things every week, but so far so good moving forward. But it's always very a cautious time. And I think I'm trying to stay in very close contact on what they need. And that project in particular has really tried to extend its benefit. It's right adjacent to South City. And so they're trying to ensure that whatever prosperity they bring to that neighborhood called Union Row extends into South City. And so, for example, they have a lot of technological advances and connections planned, and they want South City to benefit from that as well. And there's some city projects right adjacent to there too, with the MLK Academy and things like that they want to incorporate in. But it also has made everyone think about the needs and, the food desert that's right there in that area, as well as medical needs and a way for the health department to deploy. And so it's making them just think about it one more time, the layout of what they had planned for each building, and make sure that what the community needs. But so a little bit of a delay, but so far cautiously optimistic that's moving forward.
Okay. What about Lowe's?
Lowe's also, everything seems on track. One advantage they have is that they're not only a hotel company. Lowe's Corporation owns other businesses, which kept them from solely being dependent on the tourism industry. And there was some utility work that needed to happen, about a year's worth of work, that before they could really get started. And so that has continued, and they're finalizing, again, their changes to reflect the COVID impact of what they have to do as a hotel. But everything's on track so far.
Okay, thank you. So I want to just kind of switch our gears just a little bit, and let's just talk about some nuts and bolts of how your organizations work, and talk about some definitions. because the community is really interested. When we see investments of our taxpayer dollars in the downtown area, in our city and businesses, we want to know how that is shaped. So talk to us a little bit about what is a TIF, a TDZ, and new market tax credits and all these other programs they have out there. And I'm sure this will be of interest to the citizens and new business owners in our community or investors. Jennifer, you want to start?
Well, I was going to throw it back to Reid because he's done more TIFs than we have.
Come on, Reid.
Fair enough. So, like many occupations, economic developers love acronyms, our own secret little vocabulary of minutia. So there are various programs, local, state, and federal, that can spur economic development. And they all have their own niche. Sometimes more than one program can be used for a project, sometimes not. At the local level, we tend to use grants, like we are in this emergency case, loans. Jennifer talked about her forgivable loan program, and we have one as well. We use bonds, which are just loans, a fancy way of borrowing money. And then we have 2 local tax incentives that we use and which get a lot of notoriety. We use TIFs and we use pilots. And they are really very similar programs to an extent. They both take property taxes that the project is paying and uses some of those to incentivize and assist that project. Mm-hmm. Mechanics are different, but at the end of the day, the math is actually really very close, very similar. They both use property taxes paid by the project to assist the project. In the case of a pilot, which is an acronym for payment in lieu of tax, the company makes a payment, and they may pay to the city and county 25% of what you otherwise would have gotten had it been taxable, and they get to save 75%. You say, well, why do we want them to save 75%? We want them to pay 100%. We do want them to pay 100%. But sometimes at 100%, that project won't happen, either because it doesn't cash flow, the developer can't earn a market rate of return, or a competing community is offering them a better deal, and they'll go where the deal is best. And so sometimes we are in a position of needing to offer a savings, a partial, temporary savings on taxes. In most cases, that project is still paying more than we're being paid before the pilot, so it's a net plus. In terms of property taxes, it's certainly a net plus in terms of all the other fees and taxes that the city and county get, sales taxes and building permit fees, et cetera, et cetera. TIF works slightly differently. In a TIF, the project pays 100%, and then we reinvest a piece back into the project. So whereas a pilot, you pay part and save part, in a TIF, you pay it all, but then we reinvest some back into the project. And usually we're investing back into public infrastructure, streets and sidewalks, water lines and sewer lines, telecommunications, and those kinds of things. Occasionally we're investing right back into the project itself. But again, the logic is quite the same. It's not something we want to do, but there are certain situations where we feel like if we don't do it, that project is not going to happen. The project is in the best interest of the city and the county. The city and county are going to benefit financially in the short term and benefit through jobs and a more vibrant urban core and other benefits in the long term. And so we locally, the Downtown Memphis Commission and EDGE will deploy those tools in order to stimulate those kinds of projects. At the state level, our state government also has programs. They have cash programs, which they call the Fast Track program, where they can invest either directly in a company's project, in infrastructure and workforce training, and they too have tax incentives. And so companies that qualify can save money on their state franchise and excise taxes. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And at the national level, you mentioned New Markets Tax Credit and its, we'll say, cousin, the Opportunity Zone program, are ways that investors can basically save on federal taxes by making investments into distressed communities around our nation. And we've seen some great projects in the downtown area, get both new markets historically over the years, and now benefiting with the Opportunity Zone. We've seen some Opportunity Zone being a newer program, but we've also seen some projects out by the university and other parts of our city. And so whether companies working with Jennifer and her organization or with Edge, we try to put together the best package for our clients. I think it's fair to say we look to put together the best package that minimizes our local investment and maximizes the use of other people's money, state funds or federal funds, because that's in our best interest. But at the end of the day, if we're doing our job right, the city and county are earning more in property taxes and getting the benefit of those developments that wouldn't otherwise have happened.
Okay, so make sure that I understand this correctly. Anyone who wants to invest in our community, if they want to do that in the downtown area, they would contact Jennifer. But if you want to go anywhere else, they would contact you, or do you do both?
Well, our service area is the entire city, but Downtown Memphis Commission does such an incredible job that we absolutely defer to them in their service area. And there are times that we will tag team projects. We have worked together on Service Master, AutoZone, Indigo Ag, FedEx Logistics. And so our organizations work together all the time to make sure that we're bringing the right tools to bear and just the right amount of the right tools to bear to get these projects to happen.
That's great. So you know what I'm going to say, in District 3, we want our own commission. So we are working toward that. Know that we want to be major players in this sphere of work. I have one additional question, and either one of you can answer it, Jennifer or Reid. Should we be concerned about a lose-lose perspective with the casino developing right across the river in West Memphis? And to me, I heard that $200 million, it's a $200 million project, as I understand. Is that something that we should be concerned about?
I can take this. I mean, I think there has always been concern. So when the casinos in Tunica opened up, there was a lot of concern that we would lose tourists to that. When Overton Square made a resurgence, Beale Street was worried that they would lose patrons to Overton Square. But what has proven to happen is that we have enough people interested in different options to spread the wealth around. And we are such a regional city, so we get travelers not only internationally, but a lot of people who are driving through and coming from drivable areas. And so the more that we can offer them as a region, the better. And it's my opinion that people can come. If they were going to go to that casino, they're going to go there anyway when they come to Memphis. So they can stay there if they want. Hopefully part of their trip, they'll come stay in downtown Memphis. And I think they'll probably certainly want to come to some of our activities that we have in Memphis, Graceland and the zoo, and eat in our restaurants, even if they do choose to stay over there. And then hopefully on their next time, or like I said, half of their trip, they'll stay in Memphis. So we're not concerned about it. We think the more, the better, and that anything that will draw more people to the region is good.
Okay. Thank you. So do you, either one of you, have any closing remarks or something you'd like to share with our viewing and listening audience? And I will start with Reid.
Well, thank you, Chairwoman. And again, it was we really appreciate the opportunity today. The thing I think I would stress for your viewers is we're going through unprecedented times, and we are not done yet. As challenges arise, the key is that we're all working together. So council, its development agencies, the administration, others in this community. So far, the bonds that we have built over the years have really worked well for the city. They've paid dividends, and we're appreciative of that as an arm of the city and county. But we just all need to recognize that there is much left to do, and there will be new challenges. In the months ahead, there are likely to be challenges that we do not recognize today, and it's going to be an effort on our part to address those.
Okay. Jennifer, you have any closing remarks?
Yes, I'd just like to highlight the fact that I think a lot of people think we only help big projects, but we definitely, both of our organizations, spread the spectrum of large to the very smallest projects. And we even have a program, if you have a business that would operate from a storefront, we even have a program called Open on Main where you could try out a downtown storefront with your business for free for a matter of months, sometimes even longer. And so as people are rethinking their life right now, perhaps their job situation changed and they'd always had an idea for a business, we're open to trying that and bringing, we want downtown Memphis to be very Memphis. And when people visit, they feel a different vibe. And I think we've done a good job of that so far, but we want more Memphians to try out downtown as a place for their business. So big or small, please just talk to us if you're interested in trying it out and expanding or starting a business.
Okay, I want to thank both of you for joining me on today. I believe that we have informed our citizens. If they have any additional questions, they'll let me know and I'll get those questions to you so that we can get the answers back to them. So thank both of you for being on A View from the Chair, where we try to make sure our citizens are in the know on everything in Memphis, Tennessee. Please don't be a stranger to A View from the Chair. Once we have this pandemic under control, we'd like to talk to you all again about our community's progress. Again, thank you for being here on A View from the Chair. And I am your host, Patrice Jordan Robinson. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Chairwoman.